Now, as you know, I believe, we've been, this is the third year we've run our essay contest for high school students resident in this city. And boy, we've gotten some great essays, I have to say. Our first winner, and there are a bunch of teachers here, maybe you know Carmen Velasquez, our first winner, excellent essay. And in the second year, Darwin Maraquin, another great essay. And you can find both of these essays either recorded or in printed form at our website. Now, when we do the essay contest, we tell the students they can write on either of two subjects. Yes, the name of Fort Bragg should be changed, or no, the name of Fort Bragg should not be changed. There is a rubric for grading essays which pays no attention to which answer the student offers to the question. So their opinion does not weigh on the judging. And then the judges are themselves people who are unaffiliated with the Noyo Beta Trip Project. And so I can tell you that this year, and it will come as no surprise, our winner is Cooper Robles. Cooper was born and raised in Fort Bragg and graduated from Fort Bragg High this weekend.
Yeah, just last week.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Cooper enjoys various creativities. He has a huge passion for writing and other art forms, as well as lots of love for Cooper's cats. Cooper plans to attend community college to complete a general education and explore their passions before transferring to a 4-year college with hopes to study abroad in Europe, most likely Norway or Austria. So first, before we hear Cooper, we'll give Cooper their money. So Cooper, come on now. Now I'm going to ask somebody to take some pictures, and we'll pose. First place prize is $2,000, and it is for the recipient to use as they choose. Education would be a good thing, but or candy, as you choose. So one of those. All right, I'm going to give you that. I'm going to ask you to come and read your essay. You're a little shorter than me.
Oh.
There's going to be pictures.
Hello, my name is Cooper Robles. This is my essay. I have some public speaking anxiety, so my voice might be a little shaky sometimes. There exists within the tattered hearts of lost children, grown up far too fast, a story of antlers' inception. The lights are out, but the stars are up. Reader, allow a tale to weave into one's mind, carrying one through tidal waves and gentle streams. Allow oneself vulnerability, insecurity, and the willingness to give a chance to a long overdue change. Change is something which is seen as rather impervious to most. However, when allowed to flourish, can lead to the most wonderful connections and creations. This story starts with Rabbit, with exquisite antlers heavy on his small head, making him unable to raise it. Elk was with Rabbit, and said they should run a race, as Elk wanted the antlers for himself. At first, Rabbit declined, but with further press from Elk, he gave in. Little did Rabbit know, Elk had gathered other creatures together to stick pine pitch underneath Rabbit's feet, making him unable to run. Before the race started, Elk pulled Rabbit aside and told him if Elk won that he would make a deal with Rabbit. He'd take Rabbit's ears and antlers in exchange for his own ears. Rabbit was hesitant, but believing he would win, agreed. Of course, Rabbit lost. The other creatures who sided with Elk had betrayed him with the pine pitch, so he was stuck. In the end, when everyone was cheering for Elk, Rabbit cried. He loved his antlers. No matter how big or heavy, they made his heart feel full. Elk insisted that this was a good deal for Rabbit, and when they traded they agreed upon, Elk quickly made his way to show them off and conquer the land. Meanwhile, Rabbit was left lost and alone. When he returned to his family and friends, they were confused, asking where his antlers had gone. When he explained it all, they disapproved, leaving Rabbit to drown himself in his own tears and sorrows. Elk had won. He had obtained more power, but he had only done so by deception and cruelty. While Elk had always traveled to different places, Rabbit always stayed on one land, happy to be in his home and with his antlers. But now he'd been driven away, forced to be an isolated stranger in his own home. This is a Acheya Pomo story, told by David Antone in July of 1961. Home. The northern Pomo word for home is jaw. One's home is often a place they know well, somewhere safe and warm, a place of harbor. For many, this may not be the case. Home may feel like a battleground, one filled with weapons and enemies, cornering at every step. However, for the Pomo, this was not just a possibility, it was the reality. Not only were their homes invaded, but their entire land was stripped from them, a place which did not belong to anyone, untouched and secure. Somewhere they inhabited for a millennium, able to continue to share their culture, traditions, language, music, live their lives and thrive in the environment and world which they knew. This was all taken forcibly from them through violence and thievery, much like how Elk stole Rabbit's antlers. What once was a home was now the ground, soaked in blood where those before them lay, becoming one with the earth, as every being will someday. Yet it was not their time. And who is it to decide when time is? In a world where societies exist, punishing those who take lives far too quick, there still exists blindness to past injustice. Human beings are often selfish creatures, nonsensicals in the way in which they are logical and calm, concise in one moment, yet emotional and defensive, unfair in the next. Looking up to a God which has put many to rest each night, fold a blanket of thorns over top their bodies, as he supposedly kisses his creations, cherished earnestly. A being which they say utters nothing but peace, longing, love, and forgiveness. Yet, these teachings are not practiced. Readers hold such luxuries, the ability to argue, to protest, to decide. There was no decisions made all those years ago with the poem in mind, only greed. Such a trivial, wonderfully hypocritical thing, to believe a name is so dear that it should not be changed. Why? The Pomo were not afforded this chance. They did not get to have a say in the name of their home. Is it not the city's earnest responsibility to correct this tragedy? Should it not be an honor to men and injustice? Surrounded by a system which thrives and rewards the seeking of justice, should its citizens not do the same, not hold themselves up to the standard of that which they preach? Many seem to view even the prospect of a name change as ludicrous, inconvenient, a waste of time and resources. The list goes on. However, with even the slightest research, it becomes increasingly apparent just how pointless the Fort Bragg name is. Not only is it disrespectful to the indigenous tribes, but it is downright humiliating to associate with. For the citizens of Fort Bragg, the city has held the name of a man who never even so much as stepped foot in the area, leaving the town to carry all of his deplorable actions in such wake. Braxton Bragg, whom the town is named after, left behind notoriously awful sentiments. He was a slave owner, believed that slavery was just and necessary. It is not only modern-day activists which think this way, as outcry for the name to be changed was seen as early as 1862, where many saw Braxton Bragg as a traitor, as after swearing to defend the Constitution, he took up arms against his country. Not only is the name Fort Bragg a constant weight, a reminder to all those indigenous citizens of the city for what they have lost and been forced to endure, but also is irrevocably shameful for any human to defend such actions as the ones that he has taken. Why let a beautiful community be soured by such a horrible man? Why let this looming presence linger when flowers begin to bloom and when the ocean waves? Why turn down opportunity for a new sort of bloom, one of renewal, the warm sense of anticipation for what new connections and growth could come in the future? It is time now, more than ever, to stand up and call for a difference that truly be made. Incredulously, the hope continues to pour out, small flickers of light that perhaps someday real amends will be made. Slivers of it, hope for change, hope for light. Hope that Rabbit could once more have his antlers. Perhaps when the world has healed, not by force or obligation, not through contests where most are only compelled to indulge because there exists a reward, the sheer possibility of obtaining some of what got humanity to the mess where it is. The greed runs deep in the veins of mankind. It is a tumultuous yet necessary procedure to plot out, lest it ruin whatever there is left of a civilization already in ruins. Once this has been accomplished, then true progress may follow. There is no greater war than the kind which man has with himself. Thank you.